In the studio, we've been joined by the country's energy sector lead, Honorable Alhaji Dr. Kande Kole Yumkella. Dr. Yumkella is here to talk about the energy sector, reforms, challenges, progress made so far, and the way forward in the energy sector, among other things. Good morning, Dr. Yumkella. Thanks for joining us.
Good morning. Thanks for having me in the studio.
It's a pleasure. From the last time you were here, when, the energy situation was, maybe would quantify it to had been a crisis back then to now, what's the progress made so far?
We've been in continuous crisis. We're making incremental steps. And so what progress have we made? We have renegotiated with Car Powership. Instead of a 3-year contract, we've given them a 1-year contract, which immediately sends a message that we're determined to transition to alternative energy supply sources. For us, that's a major decision by government, that we've taken that decision, showing our determination that we will transition out of emergency power. Second, we have put together, we just did the second presentation of that plan, what we call the new Sierra Leone Energy Compact, Energy Mission 300 Compact, which the President will sign later this year along with other heads of states. It lays out Sierra Leone's plan over the next 5 years, costed already over the next 5 years, how much generation, transmission, distribution investments we intend to mobilize for the sector, backed by the World Bank, ADB, and others. That we've finished within 6 months. We took no external consultants. We did it ourselves in record time. We've received quite a bit of commendation from the World Bank and others. That's a major plan, about $2.4 billion, and we hope to start mobilizing those resources right away. Yeah, but that plan, the President himself will launch officially after he signs it, along with other heads of states later this year, and we'll do a formal launch. Number 3, we're fast-tracking a number of generation projects. We're very confident that by first quarter next year, January, February, we would be able to add about 52 megawatts of supply to Freetown. Just think about it, 52 megawatts is about what Car Power supplies us. So we are sure that we can have that in place already Q1 next year. We're daily checking on a daily basis, weekly basis, that generation capacity right now. We're chasing a number of other projects. We have been able to secure $45 million out of the $70 million we need for Bumbuna upgrade, to double the capacity of Bumbuna.
Phase 2, you mean?
No, it's not phase 2. We're very clear. This is Bumbuna 1 expansion. Bumbuna phase 2, we're not touching.
Okay.
Yeah.
Why?
But we've been able to secure 45 of the 70 million. I'm still negotiating between a bank and a private sector entity to see if we'll do a PPP, meaning with a private sector player, or we go full concessional financing. The $45 million is concessional financing to double the capacity of Bumbuna. We have 5 private sector entities, a number of them local, who are interested in expanding Dodo from 6 megawatt to 12. You remember when I was here, I talked about the fact that we were trying to get people. Surprisingly, 5 companies. Hopefully by the end of this year, I would have selected 1, so that they can take that concession and expand. So there are several in the pipeline. Finally, there's a 50 megawatt solar plant we want to do in Kono with Africa 50. They have come in, they've looked at it. I met them again 2 weeks ago in South Africa. They're still interested, they're moving along. If all goes well, we can close that deal Q1 next year. I should mention PPF, this is Project Preparation Facility with the African Development Bank. We need Parliament, I'll be going to Parliament today to lobby, the document is in Parliament. We have the money for the PPF to do a transmission line from Bo to Mine 91, connecting 16 communities. So a lot is happening. On the reform side, we can talk about that.
Now, for some communities currently, you follow conversations on social media Some people would post that the electricity supply in their communities have increased and it's somewhat a little bit more stable, while others still complain. What's our current source of electricity, especially for Freetown?
The reality in Freetown is the following. Let me put it in a broader context. 15 years ago, the customer base for EDSA was about 150,000. Today, it's over 400,000. We're not counting the illegal connections yet. So just look at the quantum increase in the demand. Yet we've not built capacity, distribution, transmission enough. In Freetown, we estimate now that the latent demand here is about 130 megawatts. What we supply regularly is anywhere between 70 to 80, because we've not built the capacity to generate over time. What has also happened in Freetown, thanks to the support of the World Bank and others, we've now, over the last 6 years, my predecessors managed those projects. We've been able to put the transmission lines all the way to Sussex. We're extending all the way to Waterloo. It's almost finished. We'll be visiting those connection points with the World Bank very soon. We've not given the meters yet. We have to give about 40,000 meters. The context I'm trying to create is there is more demand than we're supplying. Also, some of the distribution network, when you put the transmission line, 66 kV or 33 kV, you now have to put the smaller distribution lines to connect the communities. Some of those are very old in some locations. The transformers are also overloaded. Some of the illegal connections. We have transformers that are almost at 96% capacity. The engineers tell me usually you want it less than that. So you have these problems where some areas, we even have areas where there are lights 2 houses down, this one does not have. You have all these problems with the system. This is why the president and us, he's the Minister of Energy, we're focused on structural and systemic changes. Structural, building more, transmission, generation, and so on. Systemic, now managing the system, being able to identify the faults quickly, sending out the crew to repair, but also upgrading the systems. Some systems are old. So it's a complex technical problem, but we don't have enough supply. That's the reality. That's why we're trying to build up this capacity. When I tell you we'll add 52 megawatts more, we have to do that as quickly as possible by first quarter, because we have an agreement with the World Bank to connect 15,000 meters in Waterloo already in the next 3 months. The moment we connect those, you have a little bit, and now you connect more, the quality drops. So that's why generation has to be fast-tracked. We need to add more generation. So the problem is structural and systemic, technical, but also the other human factors playing in the system.
Linked to this, Dr. Yumkella, is the sluggish response from EDSA in most areas when there is fault. I mean, Phoebe was practically explaining one to me just now. Why is that the case? It's as though customer service is at its lowest ebb in Sierra Leone.
I agree.
Not even seem to care.
Customer service is bad. Our crews are trying. I can tell you from other feedback that I have, because as you told me here, I said, tell us quickly, so we send it in our situation room. We created a situation room, web-based, where a number of us get calls, or we see in social media, we pick up, and we send it in there. I am told by some the response has been good, but it's not good enough. So what we're trying to do now is decentralize that service. Instead of all the calls coming to our office, can we have a location in Blackhall Road? We renovate and have a location in Blackhall Road. So that crew can go quickly, then wait stay come on West End. Logistics. We've just approved money to buy more trucks. To buy, World Bank was very generous also in providing additional money now to have the trucks that have the lift where you can go up. There's a technical name for it. They will be laughing at me now at the office. I'm not an engineer. So yes, people go there, not get for put ladder. They can go up, the crane takes them up to fix. So it's We're trying to reform that now. Set up the call centers now, decentralized in Lumley. So from Lumley, you can knock Godrich quick and go Sussex. Yeah, also more training,
because
but more logistics.
The logistics is one thing. You would have the logistics, but if the human attitude is terrible, as good as all that investment in logistics would be, it would still count for, it would be a non-starter for the people, the attitude and response rate. We still have instances where some EDSA workers would still have the audacity to ask community people to make contributions to pay them for something they are receiving a monthly salary to do. They would get to certain areas instead of showing up on time to do the work. Imagine EDSA coming to work in the evening when it's almost dark. What work do you really see yourself coming to do, especially in the rainy season? So the human attitude is one thing.
I fully agree, and I give the credit to Engineer Kylie, who is chairman of EDSA. He talks about that in all our meetings, that we have to train, retrain, but also incentivize our workers. That's why the logistics support is important. We've had cases where people, the EDSA worker has to find Okada quickly to run to someplace. So now the monies we've approved and also some of the support from the World Bank will have proper logistics. Trucks that are available, motorcycles that are available, but also having the supplies in place. Having the stores where we actually store properly inventory, so in case something is broken, they can fix it quickly. We're hoping also, let me tell you a little bit more. This afternoon, for example, I have 5 hours with the board of EDSA. I'll talk about that soon, but from 1 o'clock till about 6, we're meeting to look at a lot of these issues. But let me talk about EDSA reform, Some of these issues, inshallah, in 2026, 2027, could be an issue of the past. Because why? We're going to partially privatize EDSA. It's very advanced. 6 companies, international companies, have shown interest. I say partial privatization because we want them to handle the commercial and revenue collection units of EDSA, service delivery units, metering, which are all the customer-facing operations.
Does this mean now EDSA would begin to pay their NRA dues to NRA as they're collecting from people, which they had not been doing?
Yes, ma'am.
They collect it from people, but they don't pay
They
NRA.
don't pay, yes, ma'am.
Shamefully.
Shamefully, but there's another side of the story. Government offices also don't pay us. We owe NRA 13 million, which legally we should not have held. Government owes us 20 million, which they did not pay. So we could have balanced the accounts, right? But they closed our offices. I say I could have retaliated and shut down UE building, but I didn't do that. So they dramatized our fault. We could have dramatized their fault. Could have shut down the parliament too, because they didn't pay. But we didn't do that. We'll balance our accounts. That's why this partial commercialization is important. When the money comes in, it should go straight to NRA. We have no business keeping it, because you pay your GST anyway. So that we should not have done. So we'll do that partial privatization. So that private company will also invest in new technology, fiber optic along the line, so you detect the faults early. You can also detect the underground cable corrosion problems early enough. But the revenue collection, the metering, we need to harmonize meters. There are 15 different types of meters, substandard meters all across this country. Some of the worst ones are in Bowen Kenema. We want to standardize those, but the private company that will come in, taking over hopefully in January, I have to confess to you, I look forward to that so badly. So you don't have to call me anymore, Phoebe. That light's not in the area, they knock, I say, private company, call them. So I also can sleep a little bit. Second, we're going to have a collection account. The World Bank has been working with us. It's been slow. Again, President said to me, fast track. We're going to have a single collection account. EDSA has many accounts. We want to reduce those, but have a single collection account with a dashboard. We see all the money that comes in, and then an independent fiduciary agent that will manage that account, not government, not EDSA. Independent fiduciary agents, so payments are made regularly, transparently to all the suppliers. EDSA itself, the private entity, will recover their operational costs and their little margin, and then we pay EGTC as well. That is also on track. In 3 months, that should be operational, the single collection account and the fiduciary agent. Partial privatization, we should have selected the private partner by October. Of course, we keep our fingers crossed that they really follow through, that they not see all the problem now. At sudden and say, this is too much for we they left. But we have a plan B.
Let's move away from EDSA a bit and focus on energy generation, which is a great challenge because it's what we generate that we can be able to distribute. Now, you've given car powership a 1-year contract instead of 3 years, and you earlier on said that's to signify to them that you know we're planning to move. What's the provision to move if we get to that stage where the contract with car powership expires? What would we then move to?
We move to the following sources, all planned. As I mentioned to you, by Q1, we add 52 megawatts more. So we can fully compensate for what...
Which source?
The source will be 16 megawatts from Blackwell Road. The repairs, we've already ordered the parts and everything. That should be ready in a few months. We get 36 megawatts from Newton, solar with battery storage system. That is on track. It's being built by the Chinese company TBA, funded by the World Bank. So 16 plus 36, I hope my math is correct. It's 52. So we know we can fully compensate already by Q1, months before the contract expires with Car Power. Second, the gas project in Kisi, the Nant gas generation project. They've assured me over and over, we were together now in Angola, we just signed, I'll talk about that also. We signed a new LNG hub contract with the United States. But that plant should begin to supply us 50 to 60 megawatts already December 2026. So in short, we will more than double the supply into Freetown by the end of 2026. So we're very sure of the transition, and there's several other projects in the pipeline. So I am very confident that in 2027, we'll triple the supply into Freetown.
This rainy season, are we getting supply from Bumbuna?
Yes, we are. Bumbuna yesterday gave us about 30 megawatts. It's rising. The water level is rising. This is our best period, actually, with Bumbuna. By August, it should be at full capacity, 50 megawatts. It will be spilling water, meaning it will even be kicking out excess water normally till December. So we are hoping that the rain patterns are stable, that we get the full 50 megawatts, so there will be even more power coming into Freetown every week going forward. And normally now, again, it depends on climate change, Bumbuna will stabilize and will continue to generate even up to 35, 40 megawatts up to December. Now our rainy seasons are a little longer, so the water level there stays high till about January. Then it starts to drop rapidly, and the worst period is March, April, May.
So every time it rains and there's flooding, people should count on the electricity that we generate from Bumbuna as a plus for the heavy rains.
This is the fact of life. When it rains, President knows I make the joke with him. I say, any time they say rain day, I say, I hope say they rain na Bumbuna. Everybody get interest, not so. Here it is flooding and so on. Over there, I'm just saying, keep adding more water to the dam.
Dr. Yumkella, let's talk about SDG 7, clean and affordable energy. I understand that there is a 80 megawatt project ongoing, Newton, Lunge, Kamakwe. Can you speak on that, please?
Yes, but since you mentioned SDG 7, that's my legacy in the UN. I did SDG 7, I did SDG 9. You're talking about our plans now. We're looking at 40 megawatts in Kamakwe. That one, this is the thing about projects. You're hopeful, and then you have all these other implementation problems. I was very hopeful that that project will be ready in December or Q1 next year. But I think now, realistically, I've tried to manage the expectation of President because we had shown him with the partners all the deadlines, and now that's shifted. So that will not be ready, best case scenario, till end of second quarter or end of third quarter 2026. But that's 40 megawatts that will also be pumped into Freetown, dropping some in Kamakwe and Makeni. 80 megawatts was meant for, with Infinity. It's a company that is Egyptian, UAE, with funding from the US, 80 megawatts for Bumbuna, the banks of Bumbuna. That one, I just met the promoters in South Africa at the Africa Energy Forum. They're still struggling to raise the money, yeah, because of shifts. Yeah, this is where geopolitics kicks in. We were fully assured of the funding. And then, of course, the funder now has shifted interest from renewables to gas. But the same entity that was supposed to fund them is likely to fund our LNG hub. We're very proud that Sierra Leone could be an LNG hub. This is a $150 million investment, brand new, from the United States government. I signed that MOU in Angola a couple of weeks ago. We will be able to supply Liberia and Guinea. It's a hard competition. They want to do the same, but we are ahead because our plant, our gas plant, will use part of that LNG, but also we can supply the other. So the US is very excited. When we went to Angola, it was one of the 4 mega projects they announced in Angola, now at the US Africa Chamber of Commerce Summit in Angola. So that's coming on. We have 50 megawatts solar. With Africa 50, the design is going on now, and the environmental impact assessment that will be based in Kono. Again, part of that will be coming to Freetown. That one, again, financial close if the environmental impact assessment is okay. If the financing is not a problem, they have money. Yeah, but we've already cleared the land issue. I went with the team there a couple of months ago. That one, the financial close is around first quarter 2026, construction and operation maybe in 2027. So we have some good projects in the pipeline. The hope here, remember in November I presented to the country the short term, the medium term, and the long term. These ones I have mentioned are more in the medium long term range, because they will not be finished probably till about end 2027, 2028. Yeah. That is important because our hope is by 2028, we want to double the capacity we found here since independence. Total generation capacity in this country was about 270 megawatts. We want to add 250 to 300. By 2028, if the construction is not finished, they'll finish it in 29. So double the capacity, you were asking, generation that we met since independence. That's big. Second, having a plan up to 2030 that others can finish. So we achieve that desire, that dream, that we can sell power back to Cote d'Ivoire and Guinea. That will always be power hungry. That's another source of foreign exchange for the economy. So it's a clear plan. Yeah? We're clear about our short term. We're clear about the medium. And that's what you need to do, not fire brigade. Phoebe calls me, say, light no the people no vex, who beg one don't I bring generator quick, we put her, but we'll not fix the transmission. So this new plan that we will launch, backed by the World Bank and others, will have generation, transmission, distribution, investments all along, but for 5 years, going forward. So we leave something with the next administration, which maybe Phoebe will be leading.
All right. Also, Doctor, so last year I was in Kenya, and I was there to report on proceedings from the IRENA conference that was held there. Engineer Edmond Noni was there as well. I visited the Kengen geothermal spa, which is perhaps the biggest in Africa. I learned that Ethiopia as well is fast behind them to build one themselves. Yes. Do you think we have the geophysical properties here to have one of those? I know it's a very ambitious plan.
Yeah. No, we don't. But the event you attended, we call it the APRA Investment Forum. I'll be hosting here now this October. Oh. Yeah, Sierra Leone will be hosting that. We created APRA 2 years ago. I was part of the design team for Africa. Kenya, Ethiopia, I think a little bit of Tanzania, they enjoy the Rift Valley. Oh. And so they have that geological formation that allows them to have geothermal energy. Okay. We don't. Okay. Yeah, about 10 years ago, I went there with the Secretary General as well. We don't have that opportunity. Iceland, it's one of the biggest advantages for Iceland. And let me tell you how that connects to industrialization. Iceland took advantage of that cheap geothermal energy to be smelting bauxite. And they have an aluminum industry, even though they have a little bit of bauxite, not much. But they took advantage of cheap energy. That's what Kenya and others want to do. 3,000 or 4,000 megawatts from cheap geothermal so that they can, in fact, boost their industrialization, but sell energy across the Eastern Africa power pool. Our advantage is water. God gave them geothermal. God gave Guinea and Sierra Leone water. That's why in the pipeline we have several hydro projects. From the top of my head, there are about 4 or 5 hydro projects in Sierra Leone. Okay. And I think, and what we've been trying to do is sell that, market that, and brand it to investors to say, look, you can produce power in Sierra Leone, sell to Guinea. But of course, there is our interest is you sell part of it to us. It's cheaper. Hydro is cheaper. Yeah. That's the cheapest source we have really here.
Okay, right.
There's a young man, Oswald Dundas, who won the tech summit they put together. He won a significant amount of money, but that's aside. His invention, he is using salt water with whatever scientific method he's putting together to generate electricity. So there's that idea. The thing is just how that idea can be tapped into and scaled up. Have you met this gentleman? Are you aware of his invention and what could become of it?
I'm aware of his invention. I haven't met him yet. So Oshe, take note if you're listening to the program that I have to meet this young innovator. Innovation is very complicated. Yeah. When you study marketing or sales in the US, I don't know about other business schools. I used to teach sales, agribusiness food sales in the US. Every year you get thousands of inventions. Yeah. They have to go through a stage where you prototype. In other words, they've shown you that it works. Then you have to improve that and commercialize. It's very difficult to commercialize new technology. In fact, in the US, we had a failure rate in those days when I was still in grad school, 60 to 70% failure rate with inventions. There is what they call the Khyber Pass phenomenon. After you've done all of this, only a few can go through that stage of commercialization. So we'll look at this invention that the young man has done. We have to encourage that innovation. Commercializing it is another challenge. So we have to look at it technically. Is it commercially viable? Is it scalable? Scalable means, okay, he's tested it in the laboratory. In the field, can you get 1 megawatt, 500 kilowatts? We don't know yet. So we'll see.
The only way we know is when, you
try
with him and find
exactly.
out.
And if we have resources to say, fine, for innovations like that, I think that's why they set up DSTI. DSTI was set up to encourage that kind of innovation. So we'll take note, we'll talk to him and see if we can link him up with DSTI, because they were set up specifically to help young people be creative, take their inventions then to market.
Yeah, well, the tech summit was put together by the Ministry of
Communications and Technology.
So
we'll link up with colleague Honorable Minister and see.
Let's also look at intercontinental trade opportunities available through Afreximbank. The Intercontinental Free Trade Area Agreement comes to life with funding. They're pushing to get countries within the continent to trade. One of the strategic areas we can trade that I think many times we don't pay attention to is even energy. Yeah. As bad as energy is in many African countries, there are few African countries who have solved that problem. Energy is not a problem for them. Countries like Egypt, for example. So the question is, what is preventing countries like ours from going to those countries that have been able to solve energy problem to facilitate the Intercontinental Free Trade Area Agreement, which in itself, there is money available at Afreximbank to facilitate?
As part of that Continental Free Trade Area, where also African Union has also been promoting the One Africa energy market. So in Africa already we have power pools, West Africa power pool, Southern Africa power pool, Eastern Africa power pool, to encourage us to trade. It is in that context that we have the CLSG line. the Cote d'Ivoire, Liberia, Sierra Leone, Guinea line. That became operational 2.5 years ago. What is new? I should have mentioned. I went to Guinea about 4 weeks ago, and for the first time, Guinea supplied electricity to Sierra Leone. So I'm doing exactly what you're suggesting. We now get about 15, 20 megawatts from Guinea, which never happened before. Why were we able to do it? Because last year, the final connection through Kamakuye was completed and tested. So when we had the crisis 4 weeks ago, because I'm aware of what you're saying, I rushed to Guinea with fast-track negotiations we had started last year, and we got power supply to us. But our dream is we supply back to them, because Guinea now is selling to Liberia, Sierra Leone, Burkina Faso was there when our team left. Burkina Faso had just arrived. They're selling also to Guinea-Bissau. Yeah? Cote d'Ivoire is selling to sometimes to Ghana, but they sell to Mali regularly, and Burkina Faso. In fact, they account for 30 or 40% of all the power into Burkina Faso and Mali. We have another line called the OMVG from Senegal coming all the way down towards Guinea. So there is a big push for that intercontinental trade. What we have done to tap, we're talking to Afro-Exim, but we've also tapped 2 other continental financial institutions. Africa 50, they will be financing the 50 megawatts in Kono, and Africa Finance Corporation, we just did, Deputy Minister 1 just did another conference call with them. They're providing funding for us to look at connecting the mines. Yeah, they're financing the feasibility studies because our mining sector needs over 500 megawatts over the next 5-6 years. Yeah, we want to see again, we're trying to brand that, market it to big companies to come in, build power plants that will supply the mines. Of course, we have to do the transmission lines. That is also connected to the LNG MOU I just signed in Angola. We need bigger power plants, supply our needs, which we project between 600 megawatts to 1 gigawatt in 10 years is what we need. But we want the extra traded. And that's the branding and the marketing I have done over the last 2 years. I've tried to convince big companies that, look, we have the geographic and strategic location that we're in the middle of this trading line. Build here so you get economies of scale, but you're selling to 50 million, not 8 million. Because sometimes some companies look at you and say, Dr. Yumkella, we understand, but your country is too small. So we've been trying to sell, and it's good, Phoebe, you raised it. That's the future of Africa. That's what the Africa we want to see, that we're trading power, because God gave us different endowments. Cote d'Ivoire has gas, Guinea has water, and Sierra Leone. If we trade power from different sources, the average cost will be lower. Same in East Africa. So for Tanzania, because of their gas, they are planning pipelines to take some of that gas to the rest of East Africa, because they are really rich, and Mozambique. So again, in East Africa, similarly, but Kenya has geothermal. In fact, in my days leading energy for the UN, we had Columbia University do a study for East Africa, showing that just amongst themselves, and they add Congo, they can be fully self-sufficient in power, because God gave them all different endowments of natural energy resources.
Much of our electricity being provided now is domestic or household, as you've said. There is a huge need for industrial electricity in Sierra Leone. Mining industry is losing so much because we cannot refine or smelt some of our properties here. Against when do you think we'll start discussing industrial electricity in Sierra Leone?
We're already discussing it. Some of the long-term plans we have is really in that direction. Yeah, you need reliable, affordable power to industrialize. You're right on the mark. Yeah, as I said, I did Sustainable Development Goal number 9. Sustainable Development Goal number 9 is on industrialization and innovation and infrastructure. I led that, but also 7 on energy access. They're very connected. In Sierra Leone, some of the factories have told me 30% or more of their cost is their generator. It makes them uncompetitive. So somebody will produce the same product far away in Asia and sell it cheaper here because the energy cost is high, transactions costs are high, all the bureaucracy and clearance at the ports, all of that. You add those to the cost of production, it makes their costs high. So all the companies are looking forward to stable, reliable power. Digital communications, same problem. Every tower has to have a generator. That's not core business. Imagine how many towers they have, and they have to supply diesel, spare parts, put a watchman there too. It's not tenable. Now you begin to see why in the UN, when I was leading SDG 7, the Secretary General, we gave him a phrase which he repeated ad infinitum. Energy is the golden thread that runs through development. It is the golden thread. It adds to business costs. It adds to, if you don't have it, healthcare is in trouble. Restaurants are in trouble. Agriculture, you need energy to power the system. You see why, as an ag economist heading an industrial agency, I switched to energy. Because I could see it, that without power systems, you can't industrialize. You can't grow your agribusiness. This is why voluntarily, I didn't study it in university, but I could see as a development economist, I could see the connection. I picked up the energy course 30 years ago, and lo and behold, I became the energy czar for the UN because of this. And it's now we're all catching up. But look at the 21st century. The biggest issue still is energy security and energy transition. Donald Trump, what are the deals he wants? Critical minerals. That's the next frontier. Because you need these special minerals to make the battery systems, to make the smart grids, the iPhones, the more advanced digital comms. So the big push now, critical minerals. Again, I'm chairing 2 global committees on critical minerals as part of energy transition. That's the new geopolitics.
Now,
and we have them here. But you asked about value addition.
yes.
We cannot add value yet until we have enough power. To smelt steel, iron ore, bauxite, you need a lot of power. But I know a company already that is looking at that, and they're beefing up their energy production to see if they can begin to process steel. There was another company that was interested in locating here to recycle steel. Yeah, bring scrap, refine, but again, you need power source. Guinea is very determined. The new leader there is very determined that for 50, they're still, I don't know, second or third largest deposit of bauxite, but they have one of the largest deposits, but the purest deposits of iron ore in the world, Sumundu. So you see the new leader here, Sumundu 2040 as his vision. Everybody, we're in Angola now. So my friends are telling me, Kande, we love your country and the others, but all of us are looking at Guinea. That's the big play. We call it in business, what's the new play? They say Guinea is the new play. We want to go into Sumundu. Yesterday, Liberia announced a rail. Maybe they will export through Port of Buchanan. It is shorter, yeah? But it's how you you access that with rail. That needs power systems, and then Guinea wants to smelt. That's why I say they will always be power hungry. So strategically for the President Bio, we're saying we know, we're already projecting Guinea needs more power. They will not sell to us in the future, but they need more. Can we be the supplier? You have to have neighbors like those. You sell back. That's why planning, you plan beyond your term. 5 years, 10 years, 20 years. You have to look at the trends, what we call the mega trends in economics, and you see how you ride them for the sake of your own people's prosperity.
There is this idea, I'm not sure how far you've gone with it, or the government has gone with it, the wind turbine in Banff.
Yeah.
Is that feasible? And
Well,
how can we expand on that?
I am looking forward to that project. It will be our first experiment with wind power in Sierra Leone.
Indeed.
I think Mr. Elba was here recently.
Yeah.
I know, when I met with them a year and a half ago, they were going to run some experiments. You have to look at the wind cycle maybe a year or 2 years. And so Banff seems to have steady wind flow, but you've got to test the speed so you can design the right turbines. Yeah, I know for the rest of Sierra Leone, what I know at least, and we've also asked our Danish friends, they're the leaders in wind energy, to study under our APRA initiative to study our wind maps here. I know internally here the wind gust is short. It comes suddenly, then it stops. You need a steady flow. But off the coast, all along the Atlantic coast, what one expert told me, say you're unlucky. He said the wind comes very heavily. He said when it gets to your end, it bends. That's a couple. So we have to go further out. It's like our oil, right? Our oil is deep sea. Our petroleum is deep sea. It's too far, it's too deep.
Doc, let's look at, for many people, energy is perhaps just for comfort and convenience, whilst for others, it's a business. They need that to power their businesses. But for other people, their lives literally depend on that energy. That's the case for people in ICUs, premature babies put in incubators. The healthcare sector, amidst all the challenges we have with energy, they need priority.
I give a shout out to Minister Austin Demby. Austin Demby came in as minister. Immediately he saw the connection between energy and health services. And so to his credit, helped to convince the World Bank and others, FCDO, the British and other Sustainable Energy for All, to be able to support the Ministry of Health to solarize the hospitals. He's done over 300. Same with the Ministry of Education, about another 400 schools or so. But the healthcare service is so crucial. I have an anecdote. When we commissioned with him, he invited us and Vice President to commission the one at PCMH, the solar. One of the nurses said something that really struck us. He said, when you have a premature baby, it's in minutes. You need minutes to determine whether they will survive or die. He said, that's not the time you go put generator on. So PCMH today runs significantly on solar. They don't have to have that problem. Just a few weeks ago, again, Minister Demby, with the Vice President, they inaugurated 1 megawatt at Connaught. So he's trying to do that across the country, and we just got some more funding from the World Bank to do that. So you begin to see that interconnection, energy and health. That's why we called it the golden thread. Energy and health, energy and survival. Yesterday, we went to a funeral, another anecdote. So one man, you know, once in a while you want good news, right? So this man said, Doctor, thank you, Mimi Wef, na ice block, and then cold water and ginger beer in the cell. Then they say, better, oh, doctor. It's a better day. But doctor, they last. So sustainability and reliability matters. So Phoebe, you're right. Energy touches the social sector. We want to power that social sector. We want to power businesses with cheap energy. That will happen over time if we add more renewables into the mix. We have to make sure that renewable supply is stable. Stability of the grid matters, so you have to improve the transmission lines and distribution networks. I'll give you an example, yeah? Right now, one of our other partners, Planet Solar, I'll give them a shout out. They've expanded their solar plant in McKinney from 10 megawatts to 25. So even when we had this crisis, fortunately, they had increased power. They were able to send some more to Freetown. But here is the problem with what we call intermittency with renewables, wind, solar. When it's a full sunny day, we get 21, 22 megawatts from them. On a cloudy day, it drops to 7. That creates instability in the transmission. So that's why, again, in part of our plan, if MCC, we get the money. If we don't, then we go on the Mission 300. We need to build that dispatch center. You need a control center, computerized, that can balance this kind of situation. But you also need battery systems for that kind of renewables to store the power. So when it drops, the battery system will create the stability.
We have tons of messages on our Facebook page. We'll be reading out for you in a moment. But President Trump's administration has brought some challenges with, funding from donor partners. How has that affected the energy sector, if at all?
It's brought challenges and opportunities. Challenges because we could easily lose, depending on the final decisions, we could lose $484 million. Yeah, but we've been lobbying heavily, other African countries, Asian countries, because that compacts MCC served many countries. So we're all lobbying in Washington. What I can say today is there are discussions to save some of the monies. One thing that could change, instead of a grant, which is free money, could be commercial. That could affect us. So the idea we're playing with, if you had promised us 484 million, can you keep it? But then finance your companies to build it. What we want is the product. We want that southern transmission line done. So if an American company is going to do it with the same money, alhamdulillah, we're still happy. We want the product. It's the same with the dispatch center. But with good planning, our new compact, we've put those projects under the new compact, just in case in Okan we get a new window. That's what you do when you're strategic. You plan. You see that there will be a geopolitical change, you plan. I talked about opportunities. The new administration has interest in LNG. So first project for West Africa, LNG in Sierra Leone. Strategic. You got to think strategic. We trained in the West in the best institutions. We're trained, you put your emotions aside, you go to analytics, you project. So we looked ahead already with a private company to say, hey, how do we tap into the new direction of the administration? And so the LNG MOU was signed in record time with the new administration. We're trying to see, I've offered them an invitation on behalf of His Excellency the President for some of them to visit. They're also looking at minerals. We are open. Sierra Leone wants to do good business, to create jobs, create wealth. Energy can be a major motto for that, major source.
All right. I'll start with Kisiman on Facebook. He says, Mr. Chairman, we're keeping records of whatever you're saying now.
Please do.
I'm sure these promises may not be fake ones. Yusuf Kouoma says, Dr. Kande Yumkella, we know it will take time, but Freetown needs quick electricity. Please, sir, thank you for your good work. Okay, still on the messages. Kisiman again says, Mr. Chairman, what has happened with Bumbuna hydropower project? Why all this project would be together to empower our own power supply? Okay, Jibril Dumboya says, population of 8 million people, we have to beg for everything. What a shame. Samuel Lewis says, Dr. Yumkella, does President Bio serve as energy minister? Does President Bio serving as energy minister foster growth in the sector or impedes development? Muhammad Sulaiman Kouma is saying, please ask Mr. Yumkella if he said Guinea electricity is cheap. Why do they come back to the car power ship to make agreement for providing electricity? Another thing is, let him tell us the price at which they are buying power in Guinea and the car power ship.
Can I take some of that now?
Yes, I bet you he will never tell you guys because they keep all of this information secret.
So
yes,
he's totally wrong. He's totally wrong. Yumkella will tell you that we'll buy Guinea power supply at almost 15 cents. Yeah, and then we pay a 2 cents wheeling charge on Transco, it will be 17 cents. We're buying car power at 22 cents. Tell him Yumkella already told the public that we were buying at 22 cents from car power selling at 18. Guinea is cheaper, yeah, about 15 cents. They say 14.95. And then you pay 2 cents wheeling charge to use the Transco line. They are 17 cents. Côte d'Ivoire, similarly. So part of the vision for Africa, thanks to you for raising it, is to see how, because others have cheaper endowments, natural endowments, you can buy cheaper power from them, you save money. In power systems, 5 cents, 2 cents, 1 cent is millions of dollars translated for the year. Yeah? So yes, I'm telling the public that Guinea is cheaper, about 15 cents with 2 cents wheeling charge, 17 than 22. Côte d'Ivoire, I think it was 14 plus wheeling charge, 15, 16. So yes, we'll do more of that energy trade, build our own, but the dream is eventually to sell to them because we want to earn that foreign exchange because they need it. It's business, yeah, and we're strategically located. Second issue, it's a big gift to me as sector lead that President Bio is the Minister of Energy. Yeah, it's a big gift because decisions are quicker. You have to understand that some of our decisions are not just in the Ministry of Energy. They are with the Ministry of Finance, yeah, with some other entities in government. His leadership, and when he calls all of us, he gives direction. He gives instruction. It moves quicker than I would have been able to do it, or any minister would have been able to do it. Similarly, when we come to the hard reforms soon, Yeah, when we have to deal with the real difficult management issues within the sector, you need the backing of Mr. President for you to take those decisions. Or he takes it, he said, now go implement on my behalf. If people want to ask questions, let them come to me. So it made a big difference. On promises, I tell you, I will continue to tell people what is in the pipeline. It is for good reason. If you don't know, Yumkella may not be in that office for long. You have to know that he told us already that these projects are there and this is the person funding it. How come you've not done it? You understand what I'm saying? So when people say, why does he like to go to the media? Why does he call out the projects? Why does he give deadlines? To hold me accountable and others. I don't plan to be there forever. If you don't know, you the media, you the people, you will not hold our successors to account. These projects take a long time. They surpass administrations. A transmission line takes a long time to build. It's kilometer by kilometer, 200-300. If you don't know, the next administration comes in, they'll mess it up. How do you hold them accountable if you don't know? Information is power. So tell the young man who sent that, reply him. Say Yumkella says it's a deliberate strategy for ownership of these projects by the people. So you hold me accountable, you ask me. The day President Bio said, it has pleased Mr. President that you move so and so, you say, Yumkella, come quickly to the studio. Where did you stop? Can you give us some in writing? So we know your next guy coming in where he's supposed to go. That's why you should know. That's why when we launch, when President signs the new plan for 5 years, you will get copies. We will publish it. So you own it, because it's a 5-year plan for you. It's not for a minister, for a government. It is for the people. If I am able to mobilize $1 billion of that money before my term ends, you want to know where that billion is going. You want to know the contractor who got it. Otherwise, you'll be in darkness. That's why I tell the public, even my staff, why you can tell them all these projects. I said, because I don't know how long I did it. These things take time. When I came in, very clear, President himself told me some of the projects. He said, go fast track them for me. That's why you hear me talk about my predecessors. The reason is, I want people to know there are no quick fixes if you really want a long-term, reliable, sustainable solution. You got to build it over time. If you don't know the projects we have in the pipeline, and I hope I take you out to the field sometimes. When I leave, could be 6 months, could be a year. It's up to the president, right? Says, Kande, I need you now. You don't do enough na energy, come back na food. Another Johnny comes in. You don't know, he say, may I change the way? I know like that. It's not about you liking it. It's the plan. President says to me, don't listen to the noise, stick to the plan. You got to make sure people stick to the vision, stick to the plan. Ghana, Kenya, all the one they call it 30 years from Jerry Rawlings. 80-90% electrification, year by year. No administration messed with it. If we change cycles and then the plans are put aside, it's a problem. There are plans that are not good. So the guy asked about Bumbuna. We're upgrading the existing Bumbuna. Bumbuna 2 we didn't touch. We don't have $1 billion for 120 megawatts. The economics is wrong. But we are upgrading the existing asset. That's what we want to do, to double its capacity, not Bumbuna 2 that requires $1 billion.
A few of the messages actually. Mohammed F.S. Kamal is saying, Mr. Jones, please ask Mr. Yumkella about the Transco electricity. The Masoja is saying electricity in Sierra Leone is still a big problem for many people. Only about 3 out of 10 people have access to power. And in most rural areas, communities are still living in complete darkness. Even in the cities, power cuts happen all the time, and it's making life really difficult for homes and businesses. The country depends too much on expensive and unreliable power sources like rented power barges, and local systems are old and poorly managed. Corruption, poor planning, and not enough investment have only made the situation worse. It's frustrating because electricity should be a basic need, not a daily struggle. And this other person is saying, Emil Davis, how reliable is the electricity supply across different regions of the country? Investigating the frequency and duration of power outage can provide insight into reliability. What percentage of population has access to electricity? accessing electrification rates helps identify gaps in access, especially in rural areas. What are the main challenges facing the electricity distribution network? There are many questions actually. These are just
it's
few
a
of
lot,
them, yeah.
and we've covered many of them.
Yeah.
But yes, we're at 36%. The new plan, we want to go to 70% by 2030. Yeah, access to clean cooking now is less than 1%. Clean cooking solutions, gas and so on, is less than 1%. We want to go to 25% by 2030. So we have some clear targets. We have generation targets as well that you'll see in the new plan when President finally launches it. So we know those targets already. It helps me shift. Some of the questions will make me now shift to the rest of Sierra Leone. Freetown is not Sierra Leone, yeah? There are other parts. The good news is the following. The silent good news is that Kono and Makeni for the longest time, at least this year, have been enjoying 24 hours power, except for this 1 month in Makeni when we rationed a little bit. Yeah, but till now, Kono is in fact, Kono, the Planet Solar plant there supplies energy through the interconnection line to Cote d'Ivoire because we can't send it to Freetown. Yeah, so Bo and Kenema very soon, projects again that my predecessors had, funded by the UK and African Development Bank. We finished the 66 kVA transmission line. Last week they just finished. I saw the tweet from the UK High Commission. We just finished the 33 kVA line coming into Bo. So very soon Bo and Kenema will be just like Kono, enjoying full power. Bo has backup generators already. So the good news is there are places around, pockets of hope around the country that are enjoying power, but much more to do. And this is why with the European Union, $34 million euros, where we signed now the implementation agreement with the EU to do 60 new mini-grids for 60 new communities. Yeah, we have 100 mini-grids now, we're adding 60, so we're increasing more than 50%. But yes, hopefully with the World Bank next year we'll do more. Meaning, we're concerned about the towns outside of Freetown, but also we want to reach the rural communities. Yeah, so you'll see many more mini-grids. I think that we're starting with 10 now with Sustainable Energy for All. The next 2 years, you'll see us just commissioning mini-grids across the country, across communities, linked to health centers, linked to agricultural production centers. So the plans are very good, and you got to know them. Yeah, you got to know them, so you hold us and others accountable. How come you didn't finish this? We have one bad project in this country. Since it was built, we've not received power from it. $9 million down the drain. That's why you hold us accountable. That's why you have to visit those sites. So on your own, you go there, say, hey, this thing doc been safe or done by now. Who are the manager? Who are the contractor? If you don't have that power, you can't, civil society, media, other stakeholders, communities, you will not hold your government accountable. Remember, me not they go as contractor for go build at the location. Now somebody will they give the contract, millions of dollars when the people get her. A country don't give you all your money. You gotta know. So let people not take my giving you information as just publicity. Hell no. You better take it. You better own it. So you hold people accountable. Otherwise you live in darkness. This is for you for the future. That's why we give it to you. And demand it. Come visit the ministry. Yesterday I got a visit from Suri Fofana. And he peppered me. It was supposed to be a 45 minutes interview. The brother peppered me for 2 hours. He wanted to know more. He came ready for me. With facts, with numbers, like you have those there. And he wanted more information. I want you to do it. I want to give that information to you. I took a difficult job, a risky job, risked my reputation, global reputation, but it has to account for something. I need you to make it count because you own it. You hold others responsible who will succeed us to deliver on what we've promised and what we've found the money for. Otherwise, you live in darkness.
Dr. Yumkella, we're rounding off today's edition, well, this segment with you. But as we round off, let's move away from the energy sector and focus on you as a politician.
Me?
Yes. When you...
In Nigeria, they say Mike.
Yes, you. You have gone through quite a journey in politics. I'm talking about Sierra Leone, from the SLPP to the NGC, and you were one of the people who strongly criticized the APC and the SLPP, calling them Alassane and Alusane.
Yes.
Today, you're comfortably back with the SLPP.
Trying to make Alassane look even more pretty.
So today you're comfortably back with the SLPP.
Yes.
When you took up this job and made that decision to go back to the SLPP, you faced a lot of criticism.
Oh yeah, oh yeah.
How do you defend that decision and sort of reclaim or clean, whatever the choice of words might be, your political reputation?
Judge me when I leave the energy space and the food space. Look at what I have done. I would not have done it in opposition. Look at what I have described to you here. Let's have that conversation December 2026, when some of these projects are in fruition. When you see what I have done. I was appointed within 8 months. I worked with the Minister of Finance, Minister of Agriculture. We mobilized $850 million using our networks and my network. I delivered that for the country. Now I took the most difficult assignment in the country, volunteered. President called me in. He said, this I want to do for me now. And I say, hey, pan, a bad name job this so. This was light-hot and the Boku problem on the 40 years. I took it to deliver for the people. Yeah? Judge me then. Yeah? My reputation in the world is he takes a responsibility, he takes a challenge, he delivers on it. He builds systems, institutions, partnerships, and he delivers on them. That's what I wanted to do for my country now. All my knowledge. President said to me, not to you no more one to Kandi. Now that network. He keeps reminding me. And I have proven my networks. I have proven my ability to design, my strategic guidance, my ability to look at a complex problem, compartmentalize it, and drive change.
Would this make or break your political career in Sierra Leone?
This, sorry, Fofana asked me yesterday, he said, what's your political agenda? I said, getting sustainable, reliable power for this country, putting a pathway. Remember, yeah, Kennedy said America would land a man in the moon within a decade. He didn't say, Kennedy will do it. He built the system. He was dead, but America landed a man on the moon. That's our moonshot. In innovation now and business, we talk about the moonshot. This is our moonshot for Sierra Leone. I'm developing a platform that will transition this country within a decade to sustainable, reliable power. That is the legacy. You judge then. Is it valuable to the country? Is it useful to them? That's for you. That's my focus today. 30 years working in the world on energy systems, industrialization. President Bio gave me one chance. He said, fix the one Nasalo. And let me tell you, that's what has helped my international credibility now. Those who go with me, they will tell you. They say, we go with Yumkella, they call him now. Why? They say he was global, he built these systems, SDG 7, SDG 9. Now he is in his country, brick by brick, doing the hard work. It's easy to analyze, it's easy to design, it's easy to consult. It's harder to do. For me, it is very consistent with who I am. I'm very happy I came back to SLPP. No regrets, no apologies. I came to SLPP. I am in SLPP. I'm giving SLPP the biggest infrastructure agenda they've ever seen. And all within 2 years, with the support of President Bio. If that doesn't count for anything, then I don't know.
And lastly, Doctor.
It's about that delivery.
I would just like to...
President Bio says, "Me baton na me get forgive." What's in the baton? It has to be these concrete projects, vision, and the next step. If that's not what Sierra Leoneans want to see, I'm sorry for that.
As I say simplicity, I would like to rephrase the question again.
Rephrase it.
Would you like to become president of this country? Are you going for flag bearership?
Let me put it this way. Let me do the energy work for the country that the president has asked me to do on his behalf, on behalf of the SLPP regime. Let SLPP decide what other role they want me to play in the country. Is it governance? Is it to say, oh, move over here on another technical road? It is up to the president and the people. You know, whatever the people's judgment is. When I lost the election, unlike others, I not go into depression, I not go hide. I went to parliament. I played my role there. Now they called me back to the executive branch. But pass you no like me no more now, but to God me resulted in ND. Not so. Pass Badhat no more. And time they can all get for cont. Compare my 2 years with 7 years, 8 years, 10 years. Look, we all put with report card. You and Phoebe una judge.
Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you very much,
Thank
Dr.
you.
Yumkella, for your time this
Thank
morning.
you so much.